Hello Internet, and thank you for checking out part 4 of the Intel Haswell Overclocking Guide. This part of the guide will focus on enabling the Intel Haswell low power modes. If you made it to this part of the guide and you've been able to overclock your CPU, find reasonable ring bus stability, find stability within your memory, and if your overclock is between 4.5 and 4.8 gigahertz, congratulations. Thanks for checking out my videos, and I hope they've been helpful. This part of the guide will be relatively quick and painless. The first thing I wanted to touch on about Haswell low power modes is under normal circumstances the board and CPU will draw about 60 to 70 watts at idle. So if you have a watt meter, you can totally check this out and confirm this. Comment on your results if they vary. With the exception of any additional peripherals, graphics cards, lights, fans, etc., all of that stuff will increase the total idle wattage. Okay. Also, while the Intel Haswell CPU is under idle state, it's very jumpy. It'll jump from 800 megahertz, 1.2 gigahertz, 2 gigahertz, back down to 1.2, back up to 2 gigahertz, down to 800 megahertz, and the voltage will actually fluctuate as well, and I'm going to show you all of that. So if you see that, don't be alarmed. This is how the fully integrated voltage regulation works on the Intel Haswell CPU, and there is nothing to be alarmed when you see this, okay? So we're going to go into the BIOS. Now make sure that you are on the latest official BIOS, okay? This is the very first step of the overclocking guide. However, if you are just browsing this and you are looking how to enable the low power modes, make sure you're on the latest official BIOS for your motherboard. What we're going to set is our CPU ratio mode for dynamic. Enhanced turbo, we're going to enable that. We're going to set our CPU core voltage mode to adaptive, CPU ring voltage mode to adaptive, enable the Intel C state, enable C1E support, and also make sure our package C state limit is set for auto. You will have problems if you start messing around with the package C state limit, so the best thing is to ensure it is set for auto. So that's basically it. If you've made it this far in the guide, thank you very much for bearing with me. I know my videos are dry, but I try to be as informative as possible. Please comment, like, or dislike if you have found any type of information out of these overclocking guides. So first thing I'm going to show you guys here is just so far in the guide, we have not enabled any of the C states, and you can clearly see that we're basically at our 4.4 gigahertz. The Intel Extreme Tuning Utility is reporting 4.5, but I assure you we're at 4.4 gigahertz. Our core voltage mode is set for 1.23, so that gives you an idea of how it's just running right now without nothing enabled. Okay, it's just sitting at 4.4 gigahertz. There's no nothing happening with our power. Okay, CPU Z does not report the right core voltage, so please disregard that. So what we're going to do is we are going to restart the computer, go into the BIOS, set all of these things up. And go back in, and I will show you the results that you should be seeing. Okay, so the first thing we are going to change is the CPU ratio mode to dynamic. The next thing we are going to change is enhanced turbo. Make sure it is enabled. The next thing we are going to change is the CPU V-Core voltage mode, and we are going to set it for adaptive. Also, we are going to change the CPU ring voltage mode. We're going to go ahead and set that to adaptive as well. So those are the changes I've just made. Core voltage, ring voltage. And the last settings are under CPU features. On the MSI Z87 mPower. I don't know where they are in your motherboard BIOS or UEFI. So first thing we're going to change is our Intel C state. We're going to enable that. C1E support, we are also going to enable that. And we are going to make sure that the package C state limit is also set for auto. This is where you get all these C state options. But let the board dictate that. That is the best thing to do. Okay, you will find instability if you decide to mess around with that. So basically that's it. We're going to save our changes, boot back into Windows, and hopefully our CPU starts to throttle down and not stay at 4.4 gigahertz at 1.23 volts. Under normal conditions, you will get about as low as 800 megahertz at about 0.77 volts. So that's kind of what to look for to see if your CPU is actually dropping down that far. I like to use CPU Z to monitor the CPU frequency. I just find it a little bit more reliable than the Intel Extreme Tuning utility. Okay, so we booted back up. So we're basically still at 4.4 gigahertz. Nothing's moving. So one thing I like to do under this circumstance is I will just start the stress test really quickly. I just start it and then stop it, just like that. Okay, so that was a bit of a glitch in the system. So what I did was I started the Intel Extreme Tuning utility and I just let the CPU hit 100% and then I stopped it. So, and I've found that on all the BIOSes I've used. Sometimes the CPU requires 100% load in order to throttle down. I'm not too sure what that's all about. So you can see what we're reporting now. We're reporting voltages as low as 0.7 volts. You can see our CPU utilization is at 8, 9, 10%, right? So it's jumping around a little bit. And I will show you the CPU Z here. And this usually tells us that it's dropping down to 800 megahertz. So that's what the core frequency is really doing. And like I mentioned before, it is really jumpy. You know, if I let it just sit here and idle for a bit, it'll be 800 to 2 gigahertz. Because the computer's still kind of booting up, doing a few tasks in the background, that's why you're seeing it jump up to 4.4 once in a while, just like that. So that's normal. This is completely normal. This is how the Intel Haswell CPU idles. Okay? And it's due to the fully integrated voltage regulator, the 5. So that's kind of what you should be seeing if all of your power states are enabled and working properly. Once again, I had a little glitch. I had to put my CPU under load. I just brought it up to 100% and then stopped the test, and away it went. So, and under normal circumstances, without me starting the stress test, I know that the low power mode will be enabled at some point during your computer usage. So just keep that in mind, okay? Thanks for checking out part 4 of the overclocking video. Intel Haswell Overclocking Guide, enabling the low power states. Thank you. Later.